Hey everybody, welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. I'm your pal Slowby. With me, of course, my good friend Rosella 500.
Hello.
I tripped on the branding for a second.
Just Rosella is fine. Only my mother calls me Rosella 500.
Got it, Rosella it is. My good friend Turbo C.
I was waiting for that. Yep. Hi.
My good friend Pulaho Co.
You got it close enough.
My good friend Oren Run N.
Yeah, well, close enough, I guess. Yes.
My good friend Jim.
Yeah, just one syllable there. Kind of tough to hesitate in the middle.
Well, that's fine. That's just great. Because listen. Enough bullshit, okay? We got chapter 5. Or case 5, I guess, technically. Or no, chapter 5, that's right.
Yeah.
Of Great Ace Attorney. Who wants to start us off? I've been starting off a lot.
Do you want to tell us what the chapter is called?
Oh,
Do you remember what the chapter is called?
not offhand. Wait, what's it called?
It's the case of the unspeakable story.
Yeah.
And then there's the subtitle.
The
Hound of the
Baskervilles.
I think is it fair to say Hound of the Baskervilles is probably the most famous Sherlock Holmes story?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
It's the one that I think I'm the most familiar with, being not familiar with Sherlock Holmes in general.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
It's also one of the 4 that are novels and not short stories.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why people are more familiar with it.
Maybe A Study in Scarlet.
Yeah, that was my other. That was the second, I think.
But even with that, if you ask people what the plot is, they probably won't remember Studying Scarlet, and they'd be like, oh yeah, the Hound of the Baskervilles. The big hound was, scaring people.
It's one about a dog, yeah.
Yeah, there's a hound in it.
Yeah.
And like Sherlock Holmes ruins ghost dogs for people. But not the movie Ghost Dog, which I think he was a fan of.
Yeah, so we start with like a scene from The Hound of the Baskervilles. This seems like maybe it was verbatim, but I'm not sure. Because this seemed like really like it came from a Sherlock Holmes story. Do you know, Jim, if this was like quoted from the story?
Yeah, I didn't look it up.
Do you remember Sherlock Holmes verbatim while you're playing a video game? And
I'm going to say it felt like it was verbatim, but and also Hound of the Baskervilles is public domain, so they could have. I didn't check to see if it was for sure, but yeah, I would agree that it certainly, if not verbatim, it was very close to the actual language.
I mean, except they changed the name of the characters, so
Yeah, Sholmes and Wilson.
it's verbatim except fan fiction.
Then we have a timescape from the previous chapter.
Yeah, we had 2 cases in 2 days, and then just had a big 2-month gap of not getting any cases, which apparently includes Sholmes.
off-screen character growth.
Not much, though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Van Zeeks also was just not doing stuff during this time.
Yeah. It's like Susato appears to be like really anxious about this. Like she's almost acting like she refuses to believe that we don't have a case. She keeps acting like, so like what's the case today? When are we heading to court? It's like, Susato, we don't are you okay? Like we don't have one.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's nervous about the telegram that she got. That's why she's agitated.
That is true. There's a mysterious telegram that Susato received. We have not read it. It's not for us.
Yeah. And when directly questioned about it, she's like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just a telegram. It doesn't mean anything. Just a telegram. Nope. Just not meaning anything here."
And you can even examine it on the desk. And she's just like, "Don't worry about it."
It's a normal telegram. Just normal. Nothing. And then when kind of pressed on it, she's like, "Yeah, I guess you figured it out. But just trust me. I will tell you at some point. I'm not going to tell you right now." And Renelske respects that and doesn't press her on it.
There's a lot of that happening in this chapter. A lot of, well, I can't tell you right now, so I'll tell you later.
Yeah. There is also in this room a repeat of this game's version of the stepladder conversation. If you look at the shovel.
Yeah, the shovel and the spade. It was pretty funny.
Oh no, I missed that.
You did? There's a shovel in this room.
Yeah, there is a shovel. I just guess I didn't examine it.
Yeah, if you examine the shovel, I forget whose is on whose side, but basically they're arguing if it's a shovel or a spade, because one is for digging up loose material and the other one is for shoveling it, and they're both on opposite camps.
Yeah, and then later when Iris is in the room, she also gives her opinion. So it's an entire thing.
Oh, that's excellent.
Much like the ladder step ladder thing, this makes more sense in Japanese. They kind of struggle with it in the English translation. Because is there really a confusion between a ladder and a step ladder in English?
No,
No.
not at all.
No, if somebody says go get a ladder, there's not going to be like, well, do you mean the step ladder or the ladder?
In Japanese, the ladder step ladder thing is a kyatatsu and hashigo, which are both are confusing words. People confuse them.
I mean, I confuse them, sure.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of them until right now, so yeah.
And then this one is kind of a repeat because it's like the English word shovel or shoberu. And
shovel. Yeah.
what was the other now? Scope. This was the other one, which is another English loan word. And the argument in Japanese is which is the long one and which is the short one. And yeah, these are also, again, words people confuse in real life.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. I think that Susoto gets it right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That she correctly identifies it and what the purpose is.
And what is that? For those of us that didn't...
So shovels are for moving like loose material.
Oh.
Like you shovel coal, and spades are for digging into the ground. And so spades have the kind of sharpened edge for digging, whereas the shovel is more made to transport stuff. It's got
Right.
So does that make it a shovel or a spade? What's in the scene?
I think it's a... I think she correctly identifies which one is which, but I don't know. I think it's a spade in the scene. No, it's a shovel. It's because it's got the, shovels have that kind of, like spades look more like squared off, and shovels have that point.
You could imagine a spade being on a playing card, but that's really hard with a shovel. That's how I remember it.
Wouldn't that mean that the spade is the pointy one?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's different. A spade is this flat one. Shovel is the pointy one. It's the opposite. Yeah, it doesn't look like a spade on a playing card.
I thought I knew about shovels before I started this podcast.
It's like, okay, here's a good way to do it. Think of a snow shovel, and then it's not, and it's the opposite for a spade.
So wait, okay,
Just
hold
play
on.
many years of RuneScape where the spade is a square, and then you'll just remember it.
I hate to refer to the ultimate piece of evidence, Pottery Barn, but you can't really go by the shape of it because there's gardening spades which have that kind of things that are like sort of like trowels that are like the pointy dirt shovel kind of thing.
Right.
So those spades are pointy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think like you can have flat and pointy shovels, and it looks like you can have flat and pointy spades too, actually, according to this other website that has a tool called a King of Spades that looks exactly like a shovel.
So here's the thing: like a spade has to have a flat tip to get into the ground better, whereas a shovel you want to be able to scoop things up, so you got to get that first edge underneath. So yeah,
it's like a dirt spoon.
I think wow, this is going to be a great debate for the episode. The great shovel spade debate.
Well, we've established this as an educational podcast already, so
Yeah, y'all can look this up if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the time I went into the gardening department.
All right, this is a long chapter.
Anyways, the cat shows up.
It's way ahead.
Turbo's got their priorities in order here.
Yes.
I know what I'm here for.
Yeah,
And it's Wagahai.
Are we good to talk about Wagahai the cat? Or
There's one thing that happened beforehand, or a couple things that happened beforehand, but like the one that stood out to me was we got a telegram from Soseki because he's on his way back to Japan, and he was complaining of seasickness. Life is still constant misery. But like, can you send a telegram from a boat? I thought that needed wires.
apparently you can.
I mean, presumably that's how the Titanic SOS, didn't it?
But I thought that's like that's like
how
a
it sank?
radio.
Oh.
Like you're just projecting that in a radius.
I think we've also learned before that it's not a direct trip. They stop at some ports in the middle. So maybe that's when
That's true.
you send a telegram.
I I had to look up a whole bunch of information about telegrams because that one sentence just completely derailed my entire thought process.
Communication between ship and shore is by Morse code, as was for conventional telegraphy. The equipment only transmitted messages for about 300 miles in daylight. On that figure, doubles or triples in dark.
Oh.
In daylight, it's by what? By sight?
It's the fiber optic cable minus the cable. It's just fiber optics. It's just light.
Really? Holy cow.
The wireless telegraph, Guglielmo Marconi in December. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that I know the radio waves travel better at night because there's less interference in the atmosphere. There's less atmospheric interference. So like you can get like I know in the Northeast we used to be able to get like Canadian radio stations when it was real late.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a sec, sorry. Sold his earliest systems to Lighthouse and Ship, which could not access the cable network. So Marconi did it with wireless telegraphy. He looks like he did make something, though, that used radio waves. It's electromagnetic radiation. Okay, so it's actually a piece of equipment that uses electromagnetic radiation. It's not literally.
This is just the episode where we just Google stuff on Wikipedia, don't we?
Yeah. This is right. The reference section.
Vaguely trying to remember and then furiously Google when somebody else is talking.
Don't even tell us what Wagahai means in like 5 minutes. All right. Anyway, so go ahead.
I'm actually prepared to do that because it's interesting.
I also looked this up. This was part of my research.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up. I learned it from a kanji thing.
It's the one thing that I kept from telling you when I did my initial talk about Soseki, because I knew that I would have to talk about it right now.
Did the cat also write something?
But speaking of telegrams, right? Telegraphs. Do we get the other one yet?
No, but we go down for breakfast and we talk to Iris, but in the background there's like this really bad violin noises. And then we pan the room and we see Sholmes attempting to play the violin and failing.
And he is depressed about it. He's not happy.
He's in a bad mood.
Yeah.
He really is.
It's all hunched over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little disappointed. I thought they were just going to interpret Sholmes as this version of Holmes being bad at violin.
I was thinking that too. Yeah. He's upset. He's really down. He can't deduce. The muses have left him unamused. He's totally just despondent, not like his usual self.
He's prepared to die.
He's like, today is a good day to die and all this stuff. Yeah, it's just not going well for him.
I think one of the things he says is, damn this blanched existence.
Yeah, he's not doing well.
And then Wagahai comes in through like a little cat door.
Oh, there's a cat door. That's right. Wagahai comes in. And by the way, it's made by a cat flap-o-matic. And I wanted to like tweet this or whatever, because then the like eternal like computer programming struggle comes up when like it turns out Iris invented a device to make a cat door called a cat flap-o-matic. And Naruhodo says, but with the time it took you to make the device, couldn't you have just made the cat door? Which is like every fucking thing in the world of like, by the time it took you to write the code to do the thing you wanted to do, you could have just done it manually. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I noted that same thing. And I said, parentheses, do not ask this question of an engineer. They will get mad at you.
Right, yeah, it's like, you couldn't believe. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I was already mad on Iris's behalf when I heard this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Susato is excited because now they can make a cat door in the office too.
See, Susato gets it.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. We figure out pretty quickly what the problem is, or I think maybe Iris does, because she notes that Sholmes' violin looks a lot different. The wood's cracked. It's much smaller. And she realizes it's a viola, not a violin. And Holmes is mentioning he had a Stradivarius that he had at a pawn shop. Or that he took, and you know what else they noticed too is that his analytic scope is gone off his desk, the big contraption, and he mentions he's pawned that as well. However, not pawning as in selling per se, but going to a pawn broker, which I think is actually how pawn shops really work. But we typically consider them selling.
Yeah, and I think this entire thing is accurate to how things were like in that time period.
Yeah,
people really did use pawn shops that way.
Yeah. So for anybody that's not familiar how a pawn shop works, you go to a pawn shop, you give them some item of personal value. They say, okay, that is worth this amount of money. I'm going to loan you the money. You're going to come back after a certain amount of time, pay me back the money with interest, and then I give you your item back. If you don't do that, then I keep the item and I can sell it in my shop to anybody.
It's like if you need a loan, but it needs to be small, you just use something you own as collateral, and that way, if you can't pay it back the loan, they just sell the item, and nobody gets their thumbs broken or their homes foreclosed on.
Mm-hmm. Or as Sholmes noted, it is within the pawnbroker's best interest to keep the item very secure and not lost, so it might also be used as just a makeshift storage.
Yeah, is this actually true? Because the impression that they give is that people there do this all the time. Like,
I mean, it sounds like they're doing it in the standard like business loan way, meaning like you take out money because you expect whatever you're investing or doing is going to make you more, so that you might as well like take out a loan rather than spend your own money. Because the analogy they use is like a business person might give an overcoat, then they make enough money to get back the overcoat, and if they have enough money left over from whatever they used the loan money for, they could even buy a second overcoat just so that they could do it again, or even one simply for the purpose of pawnbroking, you know? This is kind of an interesting explanation on why debt isn't necessarily bad for like big corporations and governments and things like that, because it's like more used to like secure investments and things like that. But that said, let's, you know, we've derailed enough on cat doors and shit, so at any rate, the point just being that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want to talk about, is now the right time to talk about Wagahai as a name? So I do think we should explain that.
I want to talk about credit scores some more. No, please go into Wagahai.
So Wagahai, as we already know, Natsume Sasaki's most famous book is called I Am a Cat. In Japanese, it's called Wagahai wa Neko de Aru. So Wagahai is one of the many first-person pronouns Japanese have. I'm sure you all know that the Japanese has many ways to say I.
Mm-hmm.
You mean like Watashi, Boku, Ora, and Wagahai, for example?
For example, yes. The thing about modern Japanese is that in like real life, you only ever use about 4 of them. Like you actually hear in real life conversation, and then maybe like a couple of more in informal situations. But they use a whole lot more for literary purposes, like as a kind of a shorthand for telling you what the personality of the character is. So like in anime or in novels or wherever, you hear a lot more first-person pronouns than what you'd actually hear in real life. And Wagahai was originally like kind of a nobility class first-person pronoun. And it was already out of use by the time Natsume Sasaki wrote the book. And so the book is from the point of view of a cat, and he uses Wagahai, and it's kind of funny because Wagahai is kind of like a higher class first name pronoun. But that book was so popular that Wagahai basically came back into use in literature as a reference to this book. So you still can see some of it like in its base original like personality signifier. For example, like I hate to talk about this book, but in the Japanese translation of Harry Potter, Snape uses Wagahai.
Ha.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this kind of character, but mostly what you see Wagahai these days is for cat characters. So Persona 5, Morgana, the talking cat, uses Wagahai.
Of course he does. I hate that cat.
Or also just in general, like animal characters. So maybe the most famous example is that Bowser in Super Mario Brothers is a Wagahai character.
Come the fuck on.
That's pretty cool, actually.
I think you mean Jack Black.
Yes, Jack Black.
I'm just going to date this episode completely.
Actually, Jack Black uses Wagahai whenever he's in Japan.
But yeah, and in this game, Sasaki himself used Wagahai when he talked.
Oh.
So yeah, that's the story of Wagahai.
So he refers to himself as Wagahai, and also his cat is named Wagahai?
Yeah.
All right.
So here's the deal. So Holmes, realizing that his pawnbroker has screwed him by giving him the viola instead of the Stradivarius. Well, actually, to be fully fair, Holmes mentions he initially got the Stradivarius from a pawnbroker who didn't realize what it was and paid got a really good bargain on it. And this is kind of, I guess, in a way, sort of a comeuppance, you might think at first. But regardless, he decides we are going to get that pawnbroker and get back my violin. Who's ready for a fight? And then we go to the pawnbroker for this fight because, of course, and Naruhodo, who has not finished his bacon and eggs, is dragged along because, of course, he is. And we get there, and the pawnbroker is a guy named Pop Windibank. He has exactly a pawn shop that exactly what you think it is. It's full of items. It's, for sale. And Pop Windibank probably looks like your standard sort of heavy-set English gentleman, I guess. Is that fair? A fair assessment?
He's got big mutton chops.
He does have big mutton chops, yeah.
And a pink bow tie that I think is very flattering.
Yeah, like gentlemanly shop owner, like the kind of guy you'd see like at the butcher shop or at the, whatever. Like he's like a pillar of the community kind of guy.
Then, listen, I'll just say, I'm not usually a content warning kind of guy, but there's kind of a suicide image, very soon that, I was pretty shocked the game did as a joke.
Yeah, they did it, very...
out of nowhere.
Yeah, the happy, cheerful, haha, this is a joke music started playing before you even see what happens.
I'll tell you what, if I think we can safely say you can skip about... I'll give us we'll edit this if it's not, but I'll give us 120 seconds to talk about it. I'm going to set a timer, okay? Starting right now. When you accuse him of having mixed up the violin, he puts a gun to his head. And
multiple times, actually, throughout this encounter.
It's it's this way of introducing the literal Chekhov's gun of this case.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We will have to talk about it outside with it, but that's the animation he does. And, that's kind of the joking thing is every time he feels like he's screwing up as a pawnbroker, he's going to put a gun to his head and threaten to shoot himself. It comes up quite a lot.
There's just straight up a suicide joke. Whereas one point they're like, isn't that dangerous that you keep doing that? And he's like, don't worry, there's only one bullet, so I'd only shoot myself.
That's right. 80 seconds.
He's also got his finger on the trigger. This is not just an idle threat. He is absolutely doing it.
This is gonna happen, yeah.
Yeah, I was fully expecting this to be a big bluff, and it reveals oh yeah, this is just a toy gun.
Yeah, so damn, I guess we're done and we have 60 seconds left full of this part. So if there's anything else that you'd want to get
let's talk about drugs, no.
Let's get back into.
No, we'll get there. There's also a drugs reference in this part too.
Yeah. All right. Well, all right.
Just do another take where you do 60 seconds. It'll be fine.
So my favorite kind of trauma is...
It's fine. I'll do that. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, time's up. All right. So for those of you who did skip ahead the predetermined amount of time, the only thing you need to know case-wise and everything is that the pawnbroker, whose name I just forgot, Pop Vanderbilt? No, Windibank, has a gun with one bullet that he keeps with him. So, one bullet on at all times. Anyhow, so, of course, Sholmes is like, how dare you screw up my violin? And he's like, I'm so sorry, this is going to ruin my reputation as a pawnbroker. Damn it. And I'm so sorry, this is going to ruin my reputation as a pawnbroker. And then he's like, although I distinctly remember I was going in the back to get it for you, and then you, Mr. Sholmes, said, oh, here it is, and took something from the front and left. But I shouldn't have let you do that. So it turned out this is really Holmes' screw up.
Yeah. Yeah, Sholmes, as soon as he hears that, is like, oh, okay, stop. All right, I admit fault here.
Yeah, it's silly me. What are you gonna do? But look, we learned more about pawnbroking. This game is really hammering home how pawnbroking works, although I think we've described it already.
We also learn about the security system that Sholmes helped introduce to Windibank, which is 2 cameras. I don't think the location is specified.
You can see them at some points when the camera, I think during the deduction sequence, when the camera moves around, the kind of behind the camera in the regular view of the scene, like point towards the counter.
Oh.
Shomes developed it, interestingly, or he claims to, not Iris, and it's a timed security camera with a special kind of film he developed that can take pictures even in the dark. And basically every 30 minutes it takes a picture throughout the day, and that way if someone tries to sneak in at night, it'll take a picture of them. And Windibank notes that this is a really horrible thing because it's so expensive because you have to keep paying for film. And Holmes is like, look, you want security, it costs you money. I'm sorry, that's just the way the world works.
Yeah, this is the new age that's coming.
And we immediately point out, what if someone commits a crime, like, in a 30-minute interval? It's like, well, I mean, no security is perfect.
Sholmes is just like, well, that would be too bad.
There must be a mastermind.
Yes. And that's, by the way, called the red-handed recorder, that device. We also learn about phonographs or music boxes, and the way they work is they encode audio data on a disc, like a bump map, you could say. But no, it's basically like if you've ever seen the cylinder kind of music box, it's like that, but with a disc. And the idea is like, and this is a real thing again, that the bumps on it as the device rotates pluck a comb, which makes music tone notes of a different tone work, and you can replace, different discs in for different songs. But the trick is, of course, that like every country or whatever has like different kinds of music boxes, and the discs are like specific to the box. Like you can't just put one song in any music box. It has to be written for that specific box.
I mean, we still haven't standardized media formats, so...
No, yeah. This is
certainly can't expect it of the, 20th century, 19th century? Somewhere around there.
19th century. We still haven't done it, even in the 21st. So exactly.
We're also introduced to a stereograph.
A lot. Stereography comes up a lot, and I think this is where this comes into play. If this was a 3DS game, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so in the original 3DS game, whenever they use a stereoscope, they use the 3D function on the 3DS. They still teach you about the cross-side thing, I guess for people who don't want to turn on the 3D. But in the very first instance of this, where they do use the stereograph, in this version, Holmes tells Naruto, like, Mr. Naruto, you'll have to cross your eyes. In the original, I'm pretty sure it just said, Mr. Naruto, you'll have to turn on your 3D slider on the 3DS.
Nice. So yeah, in the PlayStation 4 version, for the record, it's they just show two images, kind of side by side, and yeah.
Can you all do that? Can you all see the 3D?
Yeah, I tried to do it, but I was on auto scrolling, so I didn't have enough time to focus. But yeah, I can cross my eyes that easily normally.
Can I tell you, so my whole life, those stupid magic eye images that use this, I usually takes me forever to see it. And everyone tells you with things like that to look through the image. The game goes, pretend like you're looking at something farther than what you're trying to look at. And that like worked instantly. And I'm like, that's what they all meant. And I can't believe friggin' Great Ace Attorney of all things finally taught me how to see a magic eye picture. Although actually, now that I think about it, I didn't try it. So let me try that now. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, they didn't. I also had it on auto, and I didn't get to do it here. But later they give a more thorough explanation of how you should cross your eyes and get the images to line up. And I was able to get it to focus, and that was actually super, super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool if you manage to do it.
I still can't see magic eye. Never mind.
Yeah, I did learn how to see magic eye images back when. Like, what was it, the 90s?
90s, yeah.
Yeah, that was when they were pretty popular.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of magic eye puzzles, and people are always complaining about them, but I don't think I've ever actually used one.
It took me forever. It took me months to learn how to learn it. But once you do it, it's pretty easy.
They were always in like Spencer's Gifts or something in the mall in like the 90s.
I would see them in like waiting rooms, like at the doctor's or something, which I imagine is to distract you from how long the waiting time is.
Does it work on CRT? I'm trying it right now. I don't see anything. I linked one in Discord, but whatever. Anyway,
I don't think the CRT really matters in it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But anyway, another time.
Yeah, I think it's much easier to see the to see the one in the game where it's just 2 images, left and right eye, and you just have to line them up rather than like one big image.
It was much easier on the 3DS though.
That's true.
This is a long chapter, and like I think a good 5% of it is spent on explaining stereoscopy. But,
at least.
Yeah. So, at any rate, stereoscopes are huge in London. You know, they have a big one set up, and there's also like a little. I don't know if it's totally revealed that it is one, but there's like a little spring-loaded thing with like binoculars that, at some point, I think is revealed that it is in fact a small version of a stereoscope that you keep like looking at, but like. Naruhodo doesn't seem to know what it is. But there's a big proper like booth thing that you can like look into and see like an image of a lady.
Yeah, people line up to go to these things.
Yeah, exactly. Anywho, we have a blast. You know, we learn about phonographs, music boxes, stereoscopes, and we see that Windibank has like a ledger where he's keeps like who's deposited what and when, and I think this is around where I'm going. This guy's dead, because that's going to be an clue for a thing later. But then Gina Lestrade from an earlier chapter is here, and she starts arguing with the pawnbroker about a disc. And she says like she's trying to pawn it, and she says that he told her it was worth money, but won't say who it is. But when we ask Windibank about it, he says that they're arguing about a storage ticket for the overcoat that Gina got back. So she got it back, but she found a disc in the pocket of it and wanted to pawn the disc. But then some other guy comes in. I put that he looked like a posh ice cream guy. That's not fair because I'm reading the ice cream man comic. So, which is pretty good. But anyway, so he's a very posh guy, and he's dressed in like mostly like a white thing. They call him the picture postcard guy, I guess, because he looks kind of like that, Mm-hmm. He moves very flourishing, like in that Shu Takami way, like not quite Cavatelli from Ghost Trick, but he like has a lot of like spinning dance kind of things where he motions when he's talking, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
But he's like, no. That's my overcoat. Gina, who's we all know is a pickpocket, including Windibank, stole it out of my pocket and is trying to claim it as her own to sell his money, okay? And she's like, no, you're lying. That is mine. Yes, I'm a pickpocket, but the disc was my old man's.
And like it fits her really well, so I'm sold by this. I think she looks great in it.
Yeah, the art doesn't match the way they're describing it, because I think at one point they point out that it doesn't fit her, but it does fit him, and it fits both of them.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Windibank has a solution, which is in addition to the tickets and everything, he also has a watchword, which is a password. And the idea is like you tell him the watchword, and along with the ticket. And if you know it, obviously he knows you're the owner. And what do you know? The posh guy, who I think identifies himself maybe a little later, but just so we can call him something, Eggert Benedict.
Yeah. And the entire reason for the password system is that he doesn't record the names of the people who pawn items.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He says it's for privacy reasons, which could mean several things. He kind of indicates that that this involves Sholmes and taking stuff for him, but it also could mean that, he receives stolen goods sometimes, so he doesn't want to reveal who these people are.
Yeah,
I just really like it because it's good security, right? It's something you have, which is the ticket, and it's something which is the watchword. Like this is it's multi-factor authentication. I think it's great. I'm really happy for him.
That's a 2-step.
The only thing is you want to make sure part of your multi-factor. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, you should probably salt the data on the back end.
And he goes, well, the password is Professor, and the guy's like, jolly good, that's your thing. And Gina's like, no, it isn't. And they kind of fight over it a bit, and then she grabs the disc and she gives it to us.
Does anyone want to say anything about the password, about Professor? Because it should, if you know Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Professor would probably be a reference to Professor Moriarty. Yeah.
I think you're supposed to, kind of figure that out now, or have suspicions.
It certainly implies, for anyone unfamiliar with Sherlock Holmes, the existence of sort of not just a criminal mastermind, but this criminal underground that's linked through criminal mastermind. That there would be, say, if that person were to disappear, there would be a lot of lieutenants and other people vying for his power.
Interesting. Wow. That's a lot from the password, the watchword.
It's kind of funny. I guess maybe in Japanese it's the thing in the Japanese text is that the word professor is spelled in English. It's not in Japanese. It's the only thing.
Oh, it's like the loan word?
Yeah, so it's not even a loan word. It's not spelled in katakana. It's actually the word professor written in English letters.
Oh, that's...
So I guess that like kind of points your attention into it and makes you think. Because I remember when I first read this, I immediately thought about Moriarty when I saw the password.
I didn't know he was a professor.
I thought it was a nod to the Professor Layton.
I thought it was a Gilligan's Island reference.
Look, I'm already trying to keep up with my new research for Japanese literature. I can't do that and read the entire collected works of Sherlock Holmes.
There's another huge reference coming up in a second.
It's so good.
Well, speaking of, when she hands us the disc and we were like, what are we supposed to do about this? And Holmes goes, don't worry. I'm ready for another logic and reasoning spectacular where he's going to explain exactly what happened. And of course, we get the awesome, great deduction and the game's afoot. And basically, we have the big song and dance. He says, of course, Eggert is here with a broken shovel, which he looks like he has a cane with the letters AG on the handle. But Holmes says, no, it's a broken shovel, actually. And he's holding a job, like a help wanted kind of poster or pamphlet for this pawn shop. He wants a job here so he can dig under the pawnbrokery for a bank robbery. And of course, what's happening the whole time? He's like, what? That's preposterous. I will, whatever. And he's looking places and all that. And then Susato's like, Mr. Naohiro, please do your thing.
Well, Holmes also manages to reveal a state secret at this point.
Oh yeah, that like across the street there's like a secret bank or something like that.
Well, that's where they're holding the money to build the Crystal Tower for the Great Exhibition or whatever it's called.
Right, that's right.
And of course, this is another. This entire deduction is the plot of an actual Sherlock Holmes story. Is this like the Redhead Society one?
Yeah, this is the Red-Headed League. So this is like with the Speckled Band. Holmes' incorrect presumption is actually the plot to the Red-Headed League, which is real simple. It's just a case where a guy who owned a pawn shop did poor business, and then somebody said, "Oh yeah, this guy who wanted to help redheaded people out made this society, and you can earn £4 a day just by coming in and copying over the Encyclopedia Britannica." And and he's like, £4, it's like triple what I would make at my job. So he shuts down his pawn shop. He comes in and he does this for a few weeks. He gets to the B's. He starts from the A's and gets to the B's. And then eventually the league just shuts down and he loses his income. And he comes to Holmes to complain. And it turned out it was a bunch of bank robbers who were paying him £4 to get him away from his shop so they could dig a tunnel underneath the shop to get to the bank.
Wow. He needed Sherlock Holmes for that one?
Well, he just came to complain. It seemed the whole point of the thing is it seems like a really stupid thing to complain about. Like, oh, you were making a bunch of money and now you're not. Oh, boo-hoo. But it turns out that Holmes figures out, oh, wait, there's a big bank robbery about to happen.
Well, you know what? I will say I was kind of hoping this case would be kind of like Speckled Band, where it is actually kind of about the Hound of the Baskervilles, but we find out like all the plot holes and things and have a more sort of plausible case for it. But it doesn't seem like that might be happening. Anyhow, so we figure out actually, his cane says AJ on it, which doesn't match the initials of the name he gave us. So it seems like something's really off about this Eggert Benedict guy.
And he has Gina's description on the back of the help wanted notice.
Yeah, like he wrote down like it's going to be this person. Yeah, she's going to look like this, etc.
It has a cute little drawing of her, which is adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's like a little chibi style.
So the idea is that he waited outside of the pawn shop until he saw the person matching that description, just came in behind her and then accused her of theft.
Right. And then, yeah. And basically, and the crime is actually that he was trying to steal this box and the disc. And if you look on the back, there is a note that says for McGilded. And it's like, what? It's for Magnus McGilded, who died in the omnibus 2 months ago? Exactly? And, almost exactly. And
I am furious that here we do not actually read the note.
Mm-hmm. Wait, wasn't it just a little note on the disc, or is it like a whole thing?
I mean, it looked like, I guess it could have been like a Post-it note. I don't know. I thought that it was like, it had information on it.
It did sort of look like it unfolded a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it was just a post-it note. That's all it said, I believe.
All right.
I don't think there was anything else on it.
Well, okay. Then I guess I'm less furious.
To be fair, though, it's still way more revealing than it had to be. You know, like, it could have just been the disc, and we could have known it was for McGilded if we were Egbert Benedict. Like, not like a note, like, for the guy who supposedly died.
Well, when you open the note up, it says, for McGilded, this is for you, this disc.
Right. Helping out my fellow redheaded friends, or big hat friends.
We learn a little later about where this disc came from, so it makes a little sense that there would be a post-it note saying for McGilded on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We also realize it has a blood stain on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is odd.
But we fixed it. We do our double dance with Mr. Sholmes. It goes great. And then Gregson arrives because Windibank has a panic button under his counter.
Yeah, they also, before that, they figure out that this disc was pawned on the night where the omnibus accident took place.
Yeah.
Incident.
For the record, I thought you just said it was pwned. I'm like, wow, it really okay. But anyway, sorry. Yes, it was.
Yeah, Gregson steps in and says that he doesn't have time for our petty argy-bargy, which I was not prepared to read. I'm still not.
There was actually... Gina said something that I liked, was when Egbert Benedict said that the disc was his, what she responded with was, pull the other one, which was like, hey, are you pulling my leg? Pull the other one. I like that.
Oh, there was also a very strange reference to every breath you take in Gina's dialogue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
It was so strange that I went back to the Japanese to see if maybe I missed something, like maybe there was a reference to some obscure Japanese song that they didn't know, but there wasn't. It just... The localization just pulled it out of nowhere.
They just decided to do that.
Well, no, I think they're implying that he looks like Sting. He's all like this blonde hair.
Oh, okay, yeah. Now that you say it, I see it.
Yeah.
He does look like Sting. I get
Yeah.
it. It's... Yeah.
Also, Gina has another line that I really liked where, like, when we accuse her of stealing things, she says that it's plain as the look on our Chevy Chase, which I did not know was actual, like, British Cockney rhyming slang. I'm like, wait, that's... Hold on. No, that's real.
I don't know if we've mentioned this before or if we've just kind of glossed over it, but Gina has a very thick dialect.
Oh, it's fun. She's fun.
And she's like the only person who has that thick dialect here.
Yeah. I can hear her voice when she speaks. Unlike, you know what I mean? Like, Naruhodo, I really kind of can't. Suzato, I kind of do. But, like, Gina, like, 100% I have a voice in my head for her, you know?
Yeah, it's written as Cockney at 100%, which is why they put in, like, argy-bargy, and pull the other one is another, like, very traditional English saying. Pull the other one, it's got bells on. Like, that's like, a very traditional English thing.
Let's see here. Oh, so Gregson goes to arrest Egbert Benedict, but he like kind of twirls and runs away. In like Gregson gives, well, I don't remember if Gregson gives chase, but the Bobbies give chase. But Gregson also demands that we remand the disc as evidence.
We forgot that before Gregson shows up, Benedict pulls out the gun.
Oh, right.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
right. That's right. Oh yeah, that little detail. It's a long chapter.
and the reason Gregson shows up is that they have a security system. Windibank has a panic button. Which, did they have that technology back in the 19th century?
I mean, they could talk on ships. Why not? You know.
Windibank also, at this point, does pull out his gun too, and you think it's going to be a Mexican standoff, but he does not do that. Thankfully, the inspector does show up.
All right, panic button, Wikipedia.
We should point out real quick before we move on that before they did the whole great deduction dance, Holmes had stepped away because Gina had, I guess, insulted him or said that she didn't want to deal with him, and so he disappears for a while during that sequence. And then when he comes back, it turns out he was just looking at the stereoscopic machine or whatever, and he's very offended and hurt that he was sent away, and he's eating caramel. And the direct drug reference to Holmes is that he's like, oh yeah, you know, I was so distraught I took a 7% solution of caramel, which he actually takes a 7% solution of cocaine in the stories.
He has his name on the caramel bar, though.
Yeah.
The Sholmes' caramel.
Sholmes' caramel.
I bet Iris sells that.
I also think it's a little weird because I thought he was upset about, the violin sounded all wrong, but now like he's still acting all distraught. And
Well, now he's distraught because he got yelled at.
Yeah.
like, come on, dude.
Yeah, but that moodiness is very Sherlock Holmes. It's like that. There's literally stories that start off with him just being like, "The world is ending. Why should I even continue? I'm just going to do cocaine because it's so bored." And then a case comes in, and he's like, "Okay, I guess I'm not an addict anymore. Let's go do some stuff."
Okay, so by the way, in 1857, there was a patent for electrical alarm systems, but I think they're like more like alarms. You know what I mean? Not like a panic, like a covert kind of like direct line to Scotland Yard or something like that.
Was there also a patent for high resolution automatic photos on every 30 minutes?
Yes, by Dr. John Wilson. What the H? Yes.
Yeah. So I guess it would make more sense just to have a alarm because of the presence of the bobbies always walking their beats.
Yeah.
And all you need is the alarm, and then they're going to rush over.
Right. But at any rate, look, what happens next here? Because then, Egbert gets away after the gun thing, right? Or how do we get past the gun? Because I thought we were gonna handcuff him, but then he like twirls and runs away.
Well, he pulls the gun on us, and then Gregson comes in and tries to break it up, and then Eggs runs away.
Yeah. He literally does just twirl around, and then he's off the screen.
I'm just going to call him Eggs.
Yeah. Well, we don't see much of him anymore. But so then he has to take the disc. Gregson has to take the disc as evidence, and he asks Naruhodo for it, but Holmes, I guess, gives it to him. Does the actual handoff, and we go home, and we have learned that Holmes, who was earlier eating a bar of caramel, has used 2 bars of caramel to press the disc into it and use that to make a copy of the disc. So, and also mentions that he does this sort of thing with caramel to make copies of keys. By the way, was also part, I think, of like the infamous like Great Train robbery from Edward Pierce around the same time.
The wax keys. Yep.
Wax copies of keys.
We also invite Gina over for dinner.
Yes, and she does come.
Yeah, Iris is very excited about Gina coming over for dinner. But about the disc, the problem is that they don't know which device it's for, because
Right.
there are many manufacturers of music boxes throughout Europe. And it's not compatible with the one Sholmes has.
Yep.
So Sholmes threatens to like buy every single one to try them all.
Yep, to buy every single music box manufactured in the entire continent of Europe.
Right, and then Iris is like, oh, Sholmes, you rapscallion. But so we are not good. Yeah, so we don't know, but at any rate,
Then before Gina comes over, they talk about the manuscript that Sholmes spawned off.
Oh yeah, that's right. They talk about, I think they just call it the Baskerville script.
Yeah, so it turns out we learned in the punch up earlier that Sholmes, one of the things Sholmes spawned is the manuscript to a Sholmes novel that Iris wrote. That she said that she can't publish yet for some reason. And now they start talking about it, and Iris calls it, it's the Baskerville story. And then Susato...
she's like, I can't believe you. Yeah, like, oh, you were not going to publish Hound of the Baskervilles? I want to read it, I think, right? Isn't that what she said? She's like, I can't wait to read it, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
But then they're like, wait, how did you know the title? We never said that. And then she's just kind of like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you yet. Which, like, everybody in video games seems to get away with, but, like, I feel like I would never let drop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you, like, what do you mean now? When, then? You know, but they're all like, all right, whatever, Susato.
In this case, they were distracted because Gina shows up.
Well, also, isn't this also where we talk about, like, Iris's parents? We're like, hey.
Yeah, well, her dad,
Oh,
yeah.
Do you have parents? And she's like, well, my mom died when I was really young, and then my dad had to go somewhere to some far off land to, like,
That's curious. What's your dad's name, by any chance?
To study, poisons or something overseas.
And he used to be Sholmes' partner. And that's kind of where the inspiration for this stuff comes from. And you're like, what's his first name?
And when he was killed, like some student was holding a gun or something. And I was like, okay.
But she specifically says that her dad went away when she was very little on a case with Sholmes. He went investigating a case and never came back. And she didn't even know he was her father until she was fairly old enough to read at least, because she found his diaries in that box they use as a table. And then when she asked Sholmes about it, that's when she learned that Sholmes wasn't her real father, but her real father is called John Wilson and was Sholmes' partner.
They make it a point to... Sholmes basically reveals this to her because he knows that he will not be able to hide that from her, because she's very good at being able to tell when people are lying.
Can't lie past this one, so yeah. Oh yeah, because they're like, why did you tell her so young?
Yeah. So she also tells us that most of the stories she's written are based on the diaries that she found from her father. So most of them aren't like new cases, they're old cases that her father wrote about in his diaries.
Anyways, Turbo was right way back in episode 3. She is Watson's daughter.
Good work.
Good job. Yeah.
Totally didn't read about it.
We still don't tell her that her father is likely dead, though. That we think her father is dead. And we continue not telling her throughout the chapter.
Yeah, we're just like, we should end the conversation now. And that's it.
Yep.
So Susanoo, about that manuscript is what I would say. But, so that night, Gina's staying over and sleeping with Iris. She's happy about.
And we did learn pickpocketing. That's fun.
And Iris comes up to our room late at night and just to show us that she's actually stolen our armband off our arm, which, wow. And Gina comes up too, and we talk about the manuscript again, and this time we're also kind of thinking like, hey, what was it like? She was kind of like wondering like why Holmes pawned it or whatever, why he wouldn't let her publish it. And Gina's like, look, all adults lie. He probably just sold it, published it himself without telling you. And she's like, well, he wouldn't do that. Like, he doesn't always tell the truth, but I don't think he would lie about something important like that, Something like, I think is what she says, basically.
There's also like a little flashback about when Sholmes told her that she couldn't publish the story. That shows us like a little more serious Sholmes than we're used to.
Yeah. He's just like, the time's not right, but you absolutely can't. That kind of thing, if I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see here. So, Holmes wakes us up in the middle of the night, and apparently Gina's gone, and the pawnbroker's open. Or, it's like lights are coming from the pawnbroker. So we, meaning like Naruhodo, think that Gina went there to steal back the manuscript or prove that the trunk that he pawned was empty and the manuscript's not in there. Prove that Sholmes lied is what they think that is going on here.
Right.
So Susanoo insists on coming. So they leave the little girl alone at home asleep, which, okay. We get there and we see like kind of like the silhouette of two people, seems like a short, like stout guy and a tall somebody, we can't really see. The lights go out. There is a shot, and we get an animated sequence where Sholmes is the one who's shot. And I was actually worried this was going to be the murder of the chapter, but he's like, never mind me. Just go to the storeroom.
First, it tells Naruhodo to chase after the.
That's right.
Two people.
We chase after the two thugs or whatever, but we lose sight of them pretty quickly outside. We go back in. He's bleeding. He's like, never mind me. Go to the storeroom. It's locked, but there's like a little like sliding window-ish kind of thing you can like open in the door, It
almost looks like a cat flap.
Yes.
But higher up, but eye level, not cat level.
Eye height, yeah. If you want your cat to lose weight and jump up, I guess. But so we open it, and inside is Windibank shot, presumably dead, and Gina lying down holding the gun. Shit. So of course a Bobby arrives, outside, I think. Oh, no, actually, when we go to chase them, the Bobby sees us and they're like, oh, what are you, like, stealing from the pawn shop? No, get in here, you know? So now the police are here. We get questioned overnight. And we come home around, like, I think 6 in the morning. And Iris is up. And she kind of realizes, where the heck have you been? You know? Well, she doesn't say that, obviously. But she's worried. We have to tell her that Holmes is at St. Sinners Hospital. That's Sinners with a Y.
Yep.
Okay. St. Sinners Hospital, and
no visitors.
No
which
visitors.
She's pissed off about.
Right. He's gonna get surgery. He's gonna live, but he needs surgery. You know, they basically keep saying like, no, he's okay. Like he's not gonna die, but it's serious. You know.
Yeah, like we're not throwing away one of the main characters. Don't worry, folks.
Oh. Did Susato reveal the telegram last night, or is that still yet to come?
I think that's the very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the little, like last scene almost.
Okay. So sorry. All right. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, you're right. It's not my notes.
I mean, she did tell us before that the telegram was that she was summoned to Strongheart's office in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. She's but alone also. So, anyway, Susato's still being questioned, though, so we don't know what's going on there right away. So we go to visit Gina in prison, and she has her grenade launcher gun in prison, which, all right, yeah. Well,
yeah, they didn't confiscate it. What the hell is wrong with the police in this universe?
I don't know. They don't even search people going into courtrooms or prison. What the hell?
And Gregson's the smartest of them, apparently. I don't know. It's Rant's magazine. Anyway, so, she refuses any sort of representation. She's offered a public defender. She says no. She's basically just like, look, this whole system's corrupt. Everyone's accused me of being a liar my whole life. This isn't going to work out well for me. So F it, you know. Happy to just let my fate, you know, happen because it's just going to happen that way. And she's like, look, everyone lies. Even in my life, I've told some unforgivable lies. No, I won't elaborate on that. Moving on.
To be fair, if anyone says that, they're not going to tell you what they are. No one's like, oh yeah, I've committed some unforgivable lies. Let me list them for you.
You can't cancel me, I'll cancel me.
Let's see here. So, okay, but she does say, like, take this, which is, and she gives a picture of a cat, a white cat. It's very cute. Iris likes it. You know, and it's also, if we look on the back of it, it has a pawn shop receipt from 2 months ago. Or pawnbroker, I guess, receipt.
Yeah.
Or card, whatever. We go to the pawn shop, though. Gregson's there. He does reveal that they are going to charge Gina. They've captured the two thugs as witnesses, and they will testify against her at the Old Bailey that she is, in fact, the killer. Or that she, you know, shot the gun, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We also, let's see here. Oh, and basically we also learn like why, because Gregson, whenever he sees Iris, always calls her his ladyship, and she has like tea for him, and he's like really like, oh, well, you know, he's super happy to help. Like us, he kind of sarcastically calls us sunshine, won't help out, but he's super happy to help out Iris. And the reason is that because she wrote about him being like the smartest one of Scotland Yard, his like pay doubled, and everyone, he has like a little fan club at Scotland Yard apparently, so he's kind of happy with that, you know. That said, he's also very paranoid about like what's going to happen next, so it's like a blessing and a curse kind of thing. Maybe a bit of a white elephant. I don't know, whatever you like in terms of your metaphors.
We get a whole bunch of new animations for him though. when Iris shows up, some of them are very funny.
It looks like I was wrong. We do visit Strongheart's office like now-ish.
Yeah.
Because he won't let us investigate the scene because we aren't Gina's lawyers yet.
Yeah, she won't. Yeah, she doesn't want anybody represented, etc. But we do. So anyway, we go to Stronghearts, and we do learn, in fact, that Susato has been summoned home, like to Japan, which takes like 50 days because her father has fallen very ill, and his health is in bad health. He's in poor health,
and she has to leave tomorrow morning.
Yeah, because they want to expedite her getting home in time to see her father.
So she will not be able to help us for the trial.
Yeah.
Which didn't seem suspicious until I was saying it right now, actually. But,
yeah.
But at any rate, yeah. So, but she's like, look, I'm still a legal representative, because we're like, don't you have to pack? And she's like, my personal matters don't matter. So, well, she didn't say it like that, but so I'm here to help you for the remainder of the day,
Yeah, she's going to assist with this investigation.
Right. Before this, by the way, Iris was kind of taking on the Susato role, I will say. But anyhow, let's see. When we go back to the prison with Iris in tow, Gina is at least like a little better about like, all right, look, I'll sign these representation papers just so you can investigate. And we kind of tell her, you can tear them up later if you don't want me to represent you. She's like, fine.
I think she does that when we tell her that Sholmes has been shot and we want to investigate because we want to find out what happened to him.
And she tells us, by the way, some of her lies. And some of her lies are basically she lied in the trial 2 months ago, to help out McGilded. She doesn't really tell us. Does she tell us everything yet?
Let me tell you, I am shocked to hear that she lied on the stand because the testimony seemed totally legitimate and not at all forged.
Yep.
And it's funny because Naruhodo's like, I still would have beaten Von Zeeks. You didn't have to do it. No, I'm kidding. But so
she does tell us exactly what happened at this point.
Okay, yeah. So basically, that she was hiding in the omnibus. She heard 2 people get on board, and they were talking they were low talking the whole time. So McGilded was not asleep.
But then, surprisingly, a bunch of stuff did happen the way she told us before. So she did let out a scream when she heard someone fall down, and that's when McGilded found her and set her next to the victim.
The corpse, yeah.
And she did get his blood on her hands.
Yeah, so that is what the two, what were her name? Fairplay and Lady First. Yeah, First. So was her next to the victim. But then McGilded basically threatened her to not talk about anything she saw. And what she saw was she saw the disc that was in the pocket of the coat.
That's right.
And when the crime was found, McGilded also asked the driver Beppo to go pawn the coat.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, yeah, at Windibanks, yep.
Yeah, so it's all Beppo's fault.
Professor Beppo Moriarty.
And he asked Gina to take the ticket for the pawn shop and keep it with her. And he promised that he will come at some point to take it back.
Which I do want to point out is different than the claim ticket she handed us before. Because the claim ticket she handed us on the back of the cat was from 2 days earlier, and it just said a small box.
Yeah, she also found it in one of the coat's pockets.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, different claim ticket, but apparently she'd been holding the claim ticket for the overcoat, and that's what he had given it to her and said, like, okay, look, you're gonna take this, and I'm gonna come get it from you at some point in the next 2 months, because that's the storage period that pawnbrokers will keep things for. It's 2 months, like to the minute. Even it even says like claim time, like 9:01 p.m. That's when I'm gonna put it out in the front of the store. So I'll get it at some point in the next 2 months. If I don't come back in the next 2 months, here's 11 shillings or whatever to pay the interest to extend it for another 2 months. But yeah, I will get you, and I will come pick this up.
It seems like she did know that he was dead, though, because she tried to just take the coat for herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see here. So now that we've got the thing, we go to the store and we give Naruhodo's like, I bet Gregson's going to be upset that we have this representation paper, but actually he's super happy because he's like, Iris, you want to investigate? Come on in. That's so great. You got that. You must have been really smart convincing her. So that's pretty funny. And we learn a lot about stereoscopy again, but I think this is where we actually learn about the crossing the eye stuff and how depth and blah blah blah. You all know this.
Yeah, they'd only said the crossing eyes before the first time. And then this time is when it goes in depth.
Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah, and we learn about it because the two tickets have the same picture of a cat, except it's not exactly the same, but they're set to make a 3D picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because we did find the claim ticket for the overcoat on Windibank's desk. Yeah, they're very slightly different. And it teaches you how to do the cross-eye stereoscope thing, and it was it totally worked and it was totally cool.
And then there's another ticket on the back of the other cat photo. It's worth saying. And this one's got a smudge of blood on it. And Iris reveals that she has an invention, which she doesn't have a name for, but she loads her blunderbussish pistol, one of those big honker kind of guns. You know what I mean? Like the barrel's like a big horn, you know? Yeah. And she loads this bullet that's like a big pink smoke bomb, and it basically turns blood a different color. Like luminol, you might say. And that's like, no, that's a different Phoenix Wright game. This identifies the blood of the person and turns it a specific color. They mentioned type. I don't think they literally mean blood type. I think this is kind of like the game's little like sort of DNA kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is magic, basically.
Yeah.
It is magic. I did look it up. 1901 is apparently when we discovered the like A, B, O blood types.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were blood typing this, that would not be anachronistic for the time period we're in, because we're right about that turn of the century.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it as they talk about it more, it's very clear that this is one, magic, and two, like this uniquely identifies whose blood it is. So different people will have different colors of blood when shot at with this cool magic detecting gun.
Sure.
I do like, and I do want to point out that all of Iris's inventions are like guns of some sort. Like the gas grenade gun, the cat flap-o-matic was a gun. This is a gun.
Well, when all you have are bullets, everything looks like a gun, I guess. But another thing is like there's one thing we didn't mention is the pawnbroker also by the door has one of those like tearaway calendars where like it shows you the day on like multiple slips of paper and you like tear off what day it is,
Because it's very important for a pawnbroker to know exactly what day it is.
Exactly.
They know when to put things from the back to the front.
Yep. So this is weird, right? Because there's like a bullet hole in the calendar, if I remember, and a bullet, but like also blood, like a blood stain on the bullet.
Yeah, blood surrounds the bullet hole.
And this was there before we entered the shop. Because we see it when we first enter the shop at the night
Mm-hmm.
scene.
Yeah.
The bullet is already there and the blood stain. So this is not the bullet that shot Charles.
No. And also bullet holes usually don't have blood stains, so this is totally suspicious. Like definitely feels like a planted kind of thing.
I mean, the thing that I found interesting about that piece of evidence is that it's already turned over to today, because it was April 15th, the first day we were here, and we visited the shop at like 1 a.m, and
Right.
it had already been ripped off to say April 16th. So that implies to me that he was like that Windibank was like up and doing work like in this time, like normal business work.
Or something happened that on that piece of paper, like there was more blood spatter and they got rid of one page in a hurry, you know what I mean, and tried to cover it up somehow, maybe. I don't know, I guess now thinking about it, what could possibly be on that tiny slip of paper, but I don't know. Anyhow, maybe, whatever. Yeah, that works too. Windibank did it. Well, the bank was up and alive. Okay. All right. I'll take your computing theory, fine. All right, so what else happened here? Oh, so basically, the thumbprint turned green with Iris's invention, and here on the calendar, it turned purple. So we don't know. Wait, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. The calendar turned green, and the cat photo one turned purple. And in fact, in a very impressive scene, Naruhodo says that he can even deduce who the purple blood belongs to because it's on the back of the cat photo. I was using a walkthrough at this point, and I will say, though, I don't know that I could have deduced it, but it, in fact, belonged to Thrice-Fired Mason. The thumbprint, the bloody thumbprint, even looks like it might have been warm gloves, meaning it was his blood, but where McGilded was holding after, like, McGilded. Because then we had the flashback, McGilded said, the guy's bleeding, I'm not just going to sit there. I tried to help him. That's how I got blood on my gloves, Anywho, we go to the store. Oh, yeah. What else do we learn? So then we can go in the vault at this point, right? I think.
Yeah.
And, not the vault. The walkthrough called it a vault. The storeroom, yeah. And here, like, we see, like, Gregson's there, and he's talking to us. He says, Gina had the key in her pocket, but the door was locked from inside. There is a taped outline of the pawnbroker's body, and he's got blue blood when we do the thing. And, let's see. There is... Oh, yeah, and we were also told the door is locked from the inside. So if Gina had the key in her pocket, he's saying, like, she must have locked herself in there with her. We do see the trunk, and does it have the manuscript in it? I feel like it's confirmed at this point that, like, no, like, Holmes did pawn the manuscript, meaning, like, store it, not like he didn't sell it.
Yeah, the box is there, and it's open, but the manuscript is still in it.
Yeah. So we feel like, Gina probably came in, did probably like look here for the manuscript, but then what happened next, we don't know.
And also, just to point out that if you aren't playing along, this investigation I had to use a walkthrough as well. It was taking a while for me to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, this part's tricky too, because you're supposed to give Gregson the other ticket. You have like 2 tickets, but usually in these games, like your more recent item is the one you give, and all of Gregson's explanations are that generic, like, Inspector, what do you think of this? I can't tell you anything about this case, which makes it sound like this is all a red herring. Like, don't bother trying to give this guy an item, you know? But it's actually not true, because you give him the first receipt you got, the first cat photo from Gina in the prison. He's like, another one, huh? Interesting. I kind of forget what he says there. This is where I started playing and not taking notes, so let me go to my spoiler-free walkthrough.
So he also tells us that Holmes' surgery is finished successfully.
Oh, right.
But he's still asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has anesthesia.
Right.
And
Yeah, I think the only important part about the ticket is that, like I said, it was from 2 days before the murder, so its redemption deadline has passed.
Yeah.
So, like, it should be in the front, but it could be, it could be anywhere. Someone could have bought it in the intervening 48 hours.
Yeah, and that's what Gregson believes, that, like, this ticket, the item's probably already gone.
See, it just says a small box. Like, there's no description, like... Because I was looking for it in the front room. There were a lot of things that were that could have met the description of a small box.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, worth mentioning, we do take the manuscript as evidence, because now we can go back to Gina and be like, look, you were wrong. See, Holmes didn't steal it. We have it here. And and she's like, well, I don't trust anyone or anything. And we get, again, when you're summarizing it, it sounds like kind of BS, but I actually really liked it. This whole thing where, it's like Naruhodo remembers what Kazuma told him, like, the best weapon you have is, like, belief in your client as a lawyer. And Gina's like, yeah, but look where it got you. You ended up defending McGilded, who, like, kind of tricked you and into,
Yeah, we also learned her, like, definitively said that McGilded killed, what is his name? Mason.
Oh, yeah.
Because we spot bloodstains on Gina's coat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and they're on the sleeves, but yeah.
And we used the magic blood gun on her, and it turns out to be the same color as the ones we deduced was Mason's blood.
Yeah, but she's, like, covered in it. And since this was McGilded's coat.
And it's clearly, like, spattered on her chest. Like, this was not, like, she just touched it or whatever. It got onto her in some kind of, got into the coat, rather, in some kind of violent encounter. Like, this is clearly a murder in coat.
And then she saw him, like, stab, like, basically, like, multiple times and starts, like, relating it in gory detail and then says, like, I totally forgot about that, I'm sorry. But basically it's kind of like, you can say, I will trust you and I won't trust you. And, if I had more time, because we were running close for the podcast, I really wanted to pick I won't trust you just to see. But I said I will trust you.
I always pick the wrong option. It's like, nah, I don't feel like doing court. That's stupid. I'll give up. Like, I always pick the wrong option because usually it just gives you a little bit of extra dialogue and then weaves you back into the flow of the game. I did not have the heart to do that here.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, she's just talking about, it's like, look, I lied so much. How could you ever possibly trust me? Like, come on, your whole theory is stupid. And it's like, no.
This is what Kazuma wanted. This is everything. And and it and yeah, we again, summarizing it, it's nothing but this is, I think, really well written and stuff, and I totally was like bought into it, and
it's really sweet.
Yeah. So we're going to help her out. And then I think at one point she's like going to cry, which is like, wow, that was like a good touch. Like, she's not real. Like, she kind of like bends her head down, like with her cap. It's really cool. Really well done altogether.
The animations are really lively in this game. Like,
yeah.
You get emotions from them.
Yeah. And even when they're just like really like, they're almost like split second animations. They're just like brief ones that'll pop in. They still provide character, like there's always sort of something that makes you like it gives more depth to this, to how they're portraying this person. They become less of just sort of this stock plate example of someone. And they'd be like, oh, this feels like a real person would kind of move that way or do that or duck away, or the way they portray a lot of like romance, and just the way that the Pat and Rolly would just sort of look at each other and sort of and be very, very sweet to each other. It's all these little tiny touches that advance the game.
Yeah. We do agree to represent her, and what happens next, of course, is we're back home and we can't really sleep.
Well, before that, we run into Gregson.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Gregson was hiding in the shadows, listening to all this, crying. No, he didn't, but I was. So so Gregson's there, and what was he like? He was like,
it's weird because like he shows up, he fawns to Iris for a second, and then it's like, well, I have to deal with the emergency back at the Supreme Court. Oh
yeah, we forgot about it, because all throughout the chapter they mentioned there's like a very big case that's going on, and they won't tell us what it is that the police are working on.
And they have more important stuff to do than just investigate this stupid pawnbroker murder.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally unclear why he was there. Like, he doesn't actually say anything. He's just like, hello, I definitely wasn't eavesdropping. I was just here I have to go. It's a weird conversation.
So, yeah, we go home, we're asleep, and then Susato, we wake up to see Susato's leaving, and basically she's like, look, you need a good night's sleep for your trial tomorrow. I don't, so I don't want to like wake you up, but I have to leave at like 6 a.m, I think, or 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Yeah, so it's like, so, he's like, you were the best, legal assistant of all time. She's like, no, actually, I failed completely. He was like, what do you mean? She's like, I can't tell you right now, which is, again, I'd be like, Susato, I might never see you again. You got to tell me, like, one of the things that you're holding on to for a while. I mean, come on.
Like this minimum 100-day round trip from, even if you leave the second you get back to Japan.
Yeah. Or like swim back as soon as you find out that Maelstrom lied about your father being sick to get rid of you because you're too good, which is my new theory.
Also, keep in mind that it doesn't make any sense why a 50-day trip would leave at 4 a.m. Like it's not a flight. Like, you're not trying to catch a certain time. It's like it's 50 days. Who cares what time you leave?
She has to leave the apartment at 4 a.m. I guess the actual boat leaves sometimes in the morning, but takes time to get there and to check in and whatever else you need to do.
Yeah, I guess it just seems very weird considering you're in a major capital.
Yeah.
You think they would base it off people's transport from London, but yeah, it's just odd in the boat age.
But excuse me. We're gonna give like a tearful goodbye kind of thing. They have like a nice little chat. Susato and Naruhodo, like enough where I was even starting to think like, is there going to be like a romance element with them? But that doesn't come up.
It usually doesn't in Ace Attorney games. There's not much.
Yeah, it doesn't. The only thing I would say that hints at it is sometimes she hints at the way she would handle a husband. And whenever she does like the Susato, what was it, the Susato flip or whatever,
takedown,
yeah. Because a lot of times when they're like in the last trial when she was talking about things like, oh yeah, I wouldn't throw things at somebody. Well, maybe I'd use a bow, and like she's, like it's kind of like the two of them implying that like, oh, that kind of relationship for us, but it never goes in depth.
No. Well, she also says the thing like, you've really grown in these past 2 months, and he's like, really? She's like, no, like that sort of. Don't get me wrong, you can absolutely read it as just like a friendly, like kind of like haha sort of thing, like I don't want to admit you're doing good kind of thing. But I don't know, I was starting to be like, is this going where that way? But again, they don't really. But one thing is that, we're gonna do a tearful goodbye, and she gives this, she flips us again and gives us this Susato shutdown, because she's like, if we said goodbye, I would start crying, so.
And then it's cute because the screen kind of blurs a little bit, like as if like, he's got tears in his eyes.
Aw.
So it looks like both he and Susato are tearing up a little bit, trying not to cry. It's really cute. This game's cute.
It is. So she leaves, and then before the chapter is finally over, we go to the hospital where Sholmes is talking to someone, and he's basically kind of like, well, he's kind of saying like, thanks for all your work, kind of. What is he? He's saying like a certain sort of finality thing like that. And it turns out he's talking to Susato. And I think normally that would maybe just be her goodbye, but it almost sounds like there's something surreptitious going on where she was always working with him or whatever on something that we didn't know about.
I think it sounds like, and it might come, it might be stated better in Japanese, I think, but to me it sounds like she asked him to do something and he agreed.
Yeah, he says something like, don't worry, I'll take care of it.
It certainly implies that she's been doing something this entire time that we don't know about.
Mm.
And it seems like that's kind of like the whole thing with, sort of her with the telegram and her not talking about it, which, sort of seems like this is all about her father, but there also might see
it's interesting too. I mean, we're at the official end of the reading now, so it's speculation time. Because I am starting to wonder too, like, she is Professor Mikitoba's daughter, so is it possible that Kazuma even and Naruhodo were actually like the cover, and that Susato was really the one who was sent like on some kind of like mission to London? Or
is it a mission that Kazuma knew about?
Yeah, that would make sense.
And she knew, but she won't tell Ryosuke just because, Naruhodo, because like, he's not involved. He's just the lawyer guy. He's not involved with this other part. And
I'd think that, but during the ship case, she was like, "Oh, I guess we're gonna have to go home now." Like,
yeah, it's true. Well, I mean, but if it's supposed to be her and Kazuma, that she might think the mission is over just because one of like her partner's gone.
Be ready to give up on it. If it was just her, she would probably want to still do it. But maybe if it was dual missions.
I could tell you, but I would have to kill you. But I really mean that I would actually have to kill you.
But it would imply, because she's so close to Naruhodo, that it would imply that like she does want to tell him, she just can't now because it's like that's somebody else's trust she's betraying.
I think it's also so. Other speculation questions, of course. What's on the disc? I don't know. I mean, it has to be. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that we didn't, that I don't think we talked about is that like when the guy came in, Egbert Humperdinck or whatever, like he said he seemed to think that there was supposed to be a second disc as well.
Yes. We totally forgot. Yep.
So yeah, there's the disc that we found in the coat jacket, and then theoretically there's supposed to be a second disc that is also something. So like.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess that the second disc is something like when you have them both together, they reveal a secret message to like the treasure or something.
I'm just not sure how you get that out of a music box with its, like 16 tines or whatever.
The true identity of Professor Moriarty.
It's actually the Declaration of Independence. We have to go steal it.
So it's a code, but what could it be a code to? I mean, it's something that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
A sound-based lock.
I think when I played this at first, I figured that the second disc was probably in that second box that the Gilded Pawn.
No, I think it's going to be one of those like sound-based locks like you sometimes get in like escape rooms, where when you play the music box in front of it, the speaker hears it and then it opens up and then there's a treasure.
And it's Gina's father, cryogenically frozen, because Iris Watson built that. What the hell? So we gotta. I mean, it's all right. We have a locked room kind of thing, but like, I can't figure out how this could work. I mean, obviously, right? So if Gina is asleep, maybe due to anesthesia, which gets mentioned because of the Holmes thing, right? You kill Windibank. You put his body in the storeroom. You bring Gina in. See, this is where it gets hard then, because you can plant the gun on her and everything's fine there. How do you lock the room and keep the key in her pocket, even with a copy of a key, which you could make with caramel?
It's true. We see of some of the keys in the inside, and they do not look hard to copy.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you were to burrow underground with a spade?
Spade, yes.
No, you mean a shovel.
It's coming back.
What if this actually is like the correct like deduction and we screwed it up with the course correction somehow?
That would be great. If they did that one time in this game, I would love it.
Yeah, that would be really good.
I mean, no, because the problem is that, as we know, the British police, really lock down a crime scene, so they're just making it harder for themselves. But if this were in Japan, maybe the killer is Japanese. That's what we're supposed to find out.
See, you gotta read the disc from right to left.
I was thinking maybe Holmes fucked up when he pressed it into the caramel somehow and used like the wrong side. I don't think that would I don't think you could actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it only has one side, really.
Yeah.
Like,
oh God, is it the Indiana Jones thing? Like, oh, he only has one side.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What do you think is going on with the manuscript? Why is Iris not allowed to publish it?
I think it reveals something about her father and more about his story, about what she doesn't know.
I don't know why Iris, like, why they're not allowed to publish it, but I'm pretty sure that Susato might have found it, like, because she's the one in that first case who brought us, Wilson's notes. And so I think that Susato might have found it while we were still in Japan. Like, she found it among his things, and that's why, like, she knew the title of it. That doesn't really answer anything, but I think that it was either mostly written or at least, like, outlined or something by Wilson before he left.
That would imply that he was still alive, which she did not know at the time, right? Because this is only a couple months ago that this took place.
Yeah, I mean, if she found the story, if Iris found the story in her father's diaries, then the case must have been at least, 9 years ago? Because she's 10, and she lived most of her life with Sholmes without her father.
Mm-hmm. But it still must have been relevant. I'm guessing that it was relevant enough to Wilson for him to keep it with his notes, like his notes on poisons and stuff that Susato was looking through. So it was still important to him somehow. Maybe it's part of an ongoing case.
Hound of the Baskervilles briefly is about a dog they think's a monster, and it's like the dog's really dressed up with like glow in the dark paint kind of shit, to like like they're trying to sell it as a haunted thing, but it's really like just a regular dog, right? Is the whole thing, right?
Right. They're trying to I'm trying to think what the actual plotline was. It's basically they're trying to hide what's going on the moors, because what was the actual
drug smuggling?
It was definitely smuggling related, right? Because it's like everybody goes out there. The hound's going to kill you if you go out in the moors at a certain time, so no one does. So
is that? I mean, they're not going to do drugs, but maybe that's what this is. Maybe this is like some kind of smuggling operation thing, possibly even being to or from Japan. Maybe opium. I don't know, but like, and that this is why there's like this international thing going on. And Hound of the Baskervilles reveals it's a smuggling story of some kind, but they can't publish it yet because the ring hasn't been broken up. It's a little weird, though. I mean, the problem is that like there's specific people are involved. So like if you published a story about a smuggling ring that Scotland Yard and Sherlock Holmes were looking into, it'd be like, why did you have to write that story? So I could see it, That's the only thing I can really think of. But then the code. I mean, the code, if it had to do with smuggling, could be some kind of like date, time, longitude, latitude kind of thing on where to get pickups and stuff like that. Maybe
from like 10 years ago, or wait, no, sorry, the code on the discs right now.
Yes. I'm wondering
back
if
in the discs.
Like that's how you decode what to send, or maybe where to send it or how. And I couldn't tell you how exactly. It would have to either be sound-based or maybe not. Maybe there's some way with the bumps and like a printing press kind of thing that you could make, you could like have it like write out something like dot matrix almost.
I mean, we've got telegrams, got to be in Morse code. So we do have a, at least as far as length, we have an ability to translate sounds into letters.
I mean, yeah, like realistically, the disc would have to be like enormous or something, you know? So maybe not quite that, but I feel like they're going to do something where it's not sound at all, you know? Like the bumps do something else somehow, maybe, you know?
Or it could just be code in notes, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, yeah, I looked up Hound of the Baskervilles. I didn't remember it at all. So it's just an inheritance thing. They're just killing off Baskervilles via an actual hound who's pretended to be a ghost hound, but is actually just a dog trained to kill people.
Fuck, I like my theory so much, too.
Yeah.
Piece of shit, Arthur Conan Doyle. Fuck. Sue this, you jerk.
What is this game if not an augmented version of Sherlock Holmes? It's like, we get it, but what if it were better?
Yes.
So that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. What if it was something really terrible, like they just wanted to believe in a ghost dog and they just don't mention it till the end? Just like, oh yeah, the ghost dog. I didn't tell you about that.
Yeah, he just walks around Baker Street.
Yeah, he says, Otto, I didn't have the context even for that to be a good secret. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, I swam back about 3 days into the journey because I figured my father never gets sick. I don't know.
Here's one last speculation thing. Do we think we know the person who will ultimately have killed Windibank?
I think it was McGilded. He's still alive. One of the two thugs we saw, brief silhouetted, one of them looked short, but it looked like McGilded to me.
So the silhouettes that we saw, I know we just saw them briefly, but I think one of them was that short guy from the previous case. So
That bow again.
Nah, the other short guy, the ones that we saw for like a minute and then they went away.
Oh yeah, those two.
The fop?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the fop and the not fop.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about them.
I mean, they did show up and we've never heard from them again.
And the game is almost over. That's a good point.
And the game is almost over, yes.
Wouldn't that be crazy though? It's just the game just shoves these characters at us and then doesn't ever use them again. Chekhov's character.
I hope they never show up again, really.
They're actors, though, for hire, right? That's why they're the ones doing Shakespeare.
Oh, because they're different kind of actors, so they can't even improv together. They're just like, oh, okay, you do your thing, I'll do mine.
Yep, yeah. They're hired by someone for the misdirection part of it. So that, like, I don't know if the person who did all this predicted Holmes would be there, per se, but they're there to take or maybe they did, and they're there to take the blame when someone shoots Holmes in the dark. So they just run for it after the gunshot goes, you know? And it's gotta be no, you know who it is? It's that lady. She, remember from the start? The jerk lady. The British lady.
Swan?
Yeah, who we never, like, saw her again. That's McGilded's secret wife. That's the only way this works, to wrap it all back. I don't know. All right, but, like, you know, there's every character who we haven't had a loose plot thread with is coming back in this trial as the jury! No, but
conflict? You don't care about conflict. Let's go. Who cares?
It's the final trial. You know what that means. Bring it in, guys.
What the? Palette swap versions of McGilded times 6 is the jury? What the? How? Are we ever gonna...
Hey, one of them has a different hat.
It's Patty McGilded, Michael McGilded, Serena McGilded. It's all the McGildeds.
The whole McGilded clan.
Oh no. It's all the jury is all dogs. That's where the Baskerville comes in.
But they're all like, all the art's just like dogs on like black velvet, like dogs playing poker.
You know what? I'll say this. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but only one member of the jury is new. The other ones are people we've seen before.
Nice.
Do only like 10 people live in London in this year?
Yeah.
We haven't seen any more. Like, there's no proof that anyone else exists in this place.
Damn.
Okay.
Nice. Well, we'll have to find out next time.
Yep, on Visual Novel Book Club. I think we're reading like up to the second, like half of it. There's like, I think like 4 to be continued, you said, and we're reading up to the second one?
3 to be continues.
No.
So 4 sections.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So read up to your second to Continue twice, okay? Save their game twice.
Yep.
Be prompted to. Be asked to. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and also be saving on your own.
So long, governors.